Big trigger warning for analysis of child abuse tactics. I can't be the only one who out of everything in Miraculous is the most invested in the senticousins. Their situation is so tragic and their bond and what used to be is so beautiful and pure, and it sucks to see how all the adults in their life failed them and destroyed their bond as a result. Time to talk about a very misunderstood dynamic in the show, Adrian and Felix. These two are so dear to me, y'all don't get it. These two were robbed off of so much as innocent kids and they didn't deserve that. From what we can piece together from everything we know, Adrian and Felix used to be very close in early childhood. Reminding you that their mothers are twins who also had a rough time with their parents from personalities not living up to their standards. Emily moving out, Emily disowned for dating Gabby, Emily marrying heartless bastard Colt, both of them being infertile and everything that came with that, on top of Emily especially having an abusive ass husband, etc. So most of the adults in their life who are responsible for them are also dysfunctional as fuck. So with that, it would be extremely hard to build a genuine loving relationship in such toxic environments. It's been established that Felix was Adrian's only friend alongside Chloe. To be honest, we've only heard about Chloe and Adrian growing up together but not Felix and Chloe, though when we see them interacting as teenagers for the first time in who knows how long, they hate each other's asses. They've clearly been beefing since children, damn. And Adrian just tolerated her, but y'all already know Felix does not play like that. But enough about Chloe. In Felix's debut episode, it is said that these two used to switch places as kids to prank their parents using their resemblance. Once they did this for a full weekend. Which means each child had to deal with the other's parents for as long as they were pretending, and that itself comes with some theories and complications we'll get into another day. Somewhere in those years of them being close there was a decline in that, and eventually after everything that went down we meet emotionally battered and bruised Felix, who doesn't know how to cope. He is introduced as arrogant, snobby, bitchy, etc., which Adrian comments on and says he didn't used to be like that. And clearly he didn't. From trying to get in the way and sabotage Adrian's friendships to trying to make Ladybug not like Adrian, on that, to causing an Akuma attack and showing no remorse until the end, to stealing one of Adrian's amoks, to betraying Ladybug and the team by trading all the Miraculouses for the peacock. From all that, Adrian would question where the hell it went wrong and how Felix changed from the person he once knew. The only aspect of their childhood bond that remained being dressing up as each other as a callback that isn't really wholesome in this context, at least until you think about why it happened and the end goal, which recontextualizes everything. There is big emphasis on Colt's funeral and the fact that Adrian didn't go, also known as the iconic "sorry I didn't come to your dad's funeral" scene. And a lot of people because of that genuinely thought that this is why Felix was mad at Adrian, even though the guy whose funeral we're talking about is the one who abused him his whole life. Whether Adrian knows that or not is a whole different topic, and not due to a buildup of familial resentment that has been in the making for years. And this is exactly what I want to get across in this video. I want to be loud and clear when I say the cousins' relationships breaking in pieces has been a long time coming, and it's completely natural that they ended up this way. How they drifted apart. Their relationship is very reminiscent of siblings who grew up in abusive households and were forced apart by their parents. Just like their mothers were, but on a bigger scale. Obviously Gabriel and Colt played a crucial part in their initial alienation of each other, and Felix is very aware of that. He obviously doesn't blame it on Adrian, just like he doesn't blame Kagami for calling him a monster or calling Senti monsters. Despite him almost scolding Adrian in a way for always doing what his father tells him to do. Because it's all the adult's fault. Starting with the way Felix was raised while he was close with Adrian and when he wasn't anymore. Since his father thought of him as a product of black magic that shouldn't have been created, he treats him like that too. Which means cutting off necessary needs of an infant like socialization, like we saw in the playthrough metaphors. Even if they were close once because of their mothers visiting each other, it couldn't happen forever because again, this is the adult's world and the adults always fuck up. Adrian may have been one of the people Colt didn't allow Felix to grow too close to, because then he would have someone for comfort, someone to talk to about his home life. And you can imagine how awkward this would be for everyone as a dysfunctional family, if Felix confided in Adrian word could reach his mother, or whoever. These kids were doomed from the start. As long as Felix doesn't see Adrian, he has nobody to socialize with and the monster gets to be punished for existing. In Adrian's case, you get two control freaks for parents that sheltered him and kept him in the house for the first 14 years of his life. It was confirmed very early on that Chloe was his only friend. That tells you everything you should know about how these two raised him. This fucked up behavior and the lack of communication that went with it is what separated the cousins to the point where Adrian didn't recognize Felix anymore. The thing is that Felix acts distant and at some points downright hurtful to Adrian, out of selfishness that has been building up. Because he comes back to see his cousin after a very long time and sees that he has all the support he needs, which he never had. At first glance, Seeing how Adrian has so many friends there for him during hard times, he assumes it's all sunshine and rainbows for Adrian compared to what he went through. Because indeed he was never allowed to have friends, as his father always isolated him from everybody and tried to convince him he's a monster. Since Gabriel isn't doing that to Adrian, he doesn't see that maybe there's something under the surface that can still be bad, even if it's not as bad as what he went through. Of course he wouldn't know since he wasn't allowed to be close to Adrian. This jealousy blinds him from mending his relationship with Adrian and is lashing out because he doesn't know how to cope any other way. He does awful and impulsive shit just so he can feel more in control of himself. He eventually accepts that Adrian is in the same place he once was, with a supervillain father who is controlling him quietly, and realizes it was worse than he thought. In his mind, this is a short-term sacrifice that will all be worth it once he gets his hands on the miraculous to protect them both. It will be a win-win because he'll feel in control and they'll get back what they once had. He thinks it will be okay, like nothing ever happened, even if right now he craves connection just as much as his cousin does. But he's willing to put that need to the side as he learned growing up because he has bigger things to accomplish first. Even if Adrian was clearly in the exact same situation as him that he could 100% relate to, he'd still keep his distance since right now everyone can be an obstacle to achieving his goal, even Adrian. He puts him in the same box as everyone else until he gets the peacock. The heartbreaking thing is that Felix is wholeheartedly convinced they can pick up where they left off as soon as he gets rid of all the adults controlling them, not realizing that he himself has contributed to damaging their relationship, while Adrian has been consistently reaching out to him and trying to protect him. But now that he's achieved that and is trying to essentially continue his childhood with Adrian and everything they missed out on, Adrian thinks he's delusional and that his dream society can't work. So all his plans fall apart, and he's so desperately clinging to Adrian. That poor child was willing to set the world on fire to make sure they don't get separated again. Felix has mixed feelings in his debut episode, because while he loves his cousin, he needs to feel in control and like he can get shit done. Even if it hurts him, he loves his cousin. He's willing to destroy the entire world to keep him safe. Their relationship has just been put under so much strain because of the abuse they've both been subjected to. And Felix sees this and recognizes it for what it is. What did we learn today? That abused kids lash out sometimes. There are no perfect victims. Healing is not all rainbows and sunshine. They don't stand up for each other as much as they should, or unintentionally hurt each other when they don't mean to, and that it's the adult's fault. We can admit it's the adult's fault and still put some of the blame on Felix, especially because he messed up and didn't know better. Which again, is the adult's fault. So that blame goes back to the adults. Felix, for all his flaws and misconceptions as to how the world works, knows it's the adult's fault and understands he needs to work on his flaws and his relationship with Adrian. Fixing what the adults ruined. It would be extremely powerful to see them heal from everything they've been through together, and I really hope the writers actually do something with this. Like we need to spam them or something. Send a letter to the writer's studio. In this final section I want to respond to one crazy ass hot take I saw on Twitter the other day. Actually not the first time I see it, and it's sad. If you don't like the love square or the main character, you are not a real fan of the show / what do you even watch it for? Because we all know the stale ass straight ship in its 4 forms that are one worse than the other is the only good thing in the show. Like what? Girl. If you think this, I don't know what show you're watching. No shame if you like the love square, but there's no way you find that the most interesting thing in the whole show. Like you're just lying to yourself at this point. I just talked to you about the senticousins and how tragic their situation is, and you're going to go on Twitter and confidently bash motherfuckers for preferring a dynamic or plot over the love square? This is why y'all don't understand the more intricate complex dynamics like Adrian and Felix. No surprise there. Conclusion: I love how these two are a perfect representation of child abuse and how it can destroy you and all your relationships. They show the ugly aspects of coping that many people may not agree with, but it's realistic and makes you feel shit. Saying it one more time, it's the adult's fault. Thank you for listening to my podcast. I hope these kids can heal or something, I don't know.